You might be wondering how the State Public Service Commission really works and why it matters for state administration and your exam answers. By the end of this video, you will be completely clear about the SPSC, its setup, functions, limits, and a key idea most aspirants miss. Let's begin simply. The SPSC is a constitutional body created under Articles 315 to 323 of the Constitution of India to keep state recruitment fair and impartial. Think of the Commission as the state's referee for hiring bureaucrats, making sure merit and procedure win over favor and shortcuts. First, composition. Each SPSC has a chairman and members appointed by the governor, and the Constitution leaves the exact number to the governor's discretion. That flexibility helps states tailor the commission to their size and needs. So, a small state may have fewer members and a large one more. At least half the members must have served under the central or a state government for 10 years, which ensures administrative experience on the panel. The governor fixes the conditions of service and the staff of the commission, so practical working rules come from the state executive, while the constitutional shell remains intact. Tenure is simple to remember. Chairman and members hold office for 6 years or until they turn 62, whichever happens earlier. Compare this with the UPSC norm of around 65 years for its members, and you can see a small but useful difference to note in answers. Next, removal and independence. Though the governor appoints members, only the president can remove them, which protects the SPSC from arbitrary state action. If misbehavior is alleged, the president must refer the matter to the Supreme Court for inquiry, and the court's report is binding, giving the commission strong legal protection. Grounds for removal include conviction for an offense, insolvency, taking outside paid employment, or physical or mental incapacity, just like for Union PSC members. During a Supreme Court inquiry, the governor may suspend the member, but the final decision rests with the president after the court's report, which preserves institutional integrity. Now, core functions. The SPSC conducts competitive exams and interviews for state services and advises the state government on recruitment, promotion, transfer, and disciplinary matters. Think of recruitment as the Commission's visible work and advice, as the quiet but powerful function that shapes career paths of civil servants. Advisory duties include methods of recruitment, principles for appointments and promotions, assessing suitability, and handling disciplinary petitions and pension or legal expense claims. Because these recommendations promote consistency, the SPSC is often called the watchdog of the merit system. A neat phrase to remember for an answer, this watchdog role is crucial. Impartial exams and recommendations help keep standards of competence and integrity in the state bureaucracy. But the Commission's advice is advisory in character. The state government consults the SPSC and may accept or reject recommendations subject to law and regulation. There are important limitations. The SPSC is not automatically consulted on everything, notably matters of reservations and certain claims related to SCs and STs, which can be excluded. The governor can, by regulation, exclude specific posts or matters from mandatory consultation with the SPSC, and each such regulation must be laid before the state legislature for at least 14 days. That legislative oversight lets the state assembly annul or modify those regulations, so there is a constitutional check on the governor's power to sideline the commission. A practical tip for answers. Mention both the governor's regulatory power and the legislative safeguard to show balanced understanding. Another useful point. The SPSC works with the state's Department of Personnel or General Administration Department, which implements personnel policy. So the SPSC's influence is often indirect but important. Now a short note on the Joint State Public Service Commission. Two or more states may choose to set up a JSPSC by statute, usually through Parliament. A JSPSC is statutory rather than purely constitutional, and its chairman and members are appointed by the President with the same 6-year or 62 years rule. The President also has the power to suspend or remove JSPSC members and to set their conditions of service. And the JSPSC sends annual reports to the governors of participating states. This arrangement helps smaller states pool resources for recruitment and benefit from shared expertise, which is a practical governance point worth noting. Quick exam insight. This concept is very important for your exams because questions on constitutional safeguards, independence of statutory bodies, and recruitment processes frequently appear in state PSC mains and in GS papers. When writing answers, use the phrase watchdog of the merit system. Cite articles 315 to 323 and explain both appointment and removal procedures to score clarity and depth. Towards the end, we will understand a key idea that most UPSC aspirants miss. The SPSC's recommendations are advisory, but its constitutional status gives it moral and legal weight that shapes administrative practice. Summing up simply, the SPSC is constitutionally mandated, appointed by the governor, protected by presidential removal procedures, conducts recruitment and advises the state, and acts as a watchdog for merit. Remember limitations too: governor's regulatory exclusions, reservation-related exceptions, and the requirement to place regulations before the state legislature, which creates checks and balances. For concise recall in exams, Articles 315 to 323, Chairman and members by governor, tenure 6 years or age 62, removal by President on Supreme Court enquiry if needed, and advisory role in recruitment and discipline. If you link these points with the idea of institutional independence versus executive control, your answers will show both factual grasp and analytical depth, which examiners value. Keep practicing by framing short answers that state the provision, explain the effect, and give one example or consequence for administration. You've done well making it this far, and with a little revision, you'll be able to write crisp, exam-ready answers on the SPSC. If you want more video lessons, notes, or practice questions on this topic, continue learning with EduRev, where we break down each concept the same way, step by step. Cuba. Thanks for listening. Keep revising, and remember, the SPSC is where procedure meets fairness in state governance.